already know Big Flaco from a comics perspective. You already know what time is coming directly from, the more detention unit. As you guys know, I'm up in the hole, smashing, dashing, sliding on through with a whole lot of energy. So please hit the like, subscribe, comment, do all those things to help support your boy, and hit that bell notification for future fire content. So guys, I kind of want to talk about, my first impression, you know what I'm saying, going from Alhambra to Cheyenne. And, the first thing when I actually went to the yard, I actually met someone, an alleged family member, old man Flaco. People pretty much know him throughout the system, right? And I have nothing bad to say about this dude, so I just want to tell the story, though. So when I first get to Cheyenne, I think I talked about this, right? And saying, it put me in the wrong bunk. I got moved, and then, I met one of the Chicanos there, and he goes, "Oh, you're an old Daniel. I don't know, that may be problems." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever. If there's problems, there's problems. I ain't tripping." Because, well, we got to talk to the civilians first. And I'm taking it back, like, that's not how I heard it works. Even when the homeowner was like, "No, that's not how it's supposed to work." But the dude really didn't know too much, so I was like, "Okay, whatever." So I waited, I went and I got my paperwork, and I went and submitted my paperwork. Okay, so I'm trying to just blend in. I'm trying not to cause a havoc. I am who I am, you know what I'm saying? And like I told people, I was going to do what I was going to do when I got to prison. I'm not going to run from anything. If anybody has a problem with passing to California, then it is what it is. But I submitted my paperwork from Arizona, which was clean, you know what I'm saying? And I gave it to the Chicanos, and I didn't know who I was running with. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know if I was standing on my own 2 feet or whatever it was going to be. So I did the paperwork, right? And eventually, 3 days, 2 days, it comes up to me, and he didn't say nothing about the paperwork yet, but he tells me, "Hey," he goes, "you have a choice now because it's a peace treaty in California. If you want to run with the Cali car or with, you can run with us." I mean, you just put, what basically what as a civilian, it's Chicano, and I'm like, "No, I'm not running Cali because I can't take orders from the civilian." And I say that respectively to civilians. It isn't that I had any issues. The civilians showed me respect. I showed the civilians respect. It's just I know how it was in the feds that became an issue to where it ended up being a order came out that Norteños and civilians couldn't coexist because of the Cali car. And the Cali boys had their own car there for years, but they had issues with AZ. And there was a time period where the Sudanos were not liking the AZ Chicanos because the AZ Chicanos would give the Norteños skin out. But there's always a cost to that. So I'm like, no, that's where I stand. Much respect to him. I said, if something jumps off, I have no problem backing them up. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But I'm not going to really be running under their flag or basically really anybody's flag, But, I'm saying, you can just count me as Chicago. So as I'm there, I became close with a couple individuals, fucking old man Local, right? Old man Local. He was like 63. I used to see him a lot, man. And he had a bad leg. His wife his old age just passed away. He was homeless up in the streets, man. And he was just a good dude. Been doing time since like the 70s and stuff, man. And I kind of gravitated because he was a good person, man. And in fact, there's a story about me taking him to church for the first time while we were there. And he gave his life to God. And from that point forward, he was going to church every day. And I invited a whole bunch of people. And that was a really good field story. There's another individual from Garfield. He was another OG about 57. So I'm checking over him because these dudes been around, and I figure they can show me right from wrong, and they're not gonna prejudge me because I'm from Califas. Because there's a lot of dudes from time to time when you get places. There's some dudes, like I said, that they embrace and they've had good experiences with those people from Yuma and Tucson were pretty cool towards me. They kind of push to their own they march to their own drum, I guess you could say, right? Some of them just, you could tell that there was hostility. Maybe they had past experience. I don't know. But now, every Saturday, right? If you're a new arrival, basically, you got to go out there and if your paperwork clears around what you call blocks. Okay? So, I'm saying, come up around with us, and, somebody, okay, I want to see what it's about. So, as I get up, man, there's another dude there, and I'm going to put the name out there because he's in the yard over there. And, he's not in it, but he's political. And this is what tripped me out. He had a fucking binder paper, like a composition paper. And what he did was he opened it up and he'd ask you what your name is, and he'd say blocks or no blocks. And he'd put your name in it. Like, open. Like, anytime fucking SSU would come and snatch it up, like, when we used to paperwork, we used to have to fucking wrap that stuff up in plastic and cheaper. So he's asking everybody who's on blocks and who isn't on blocks. So after he's done doing that, right, he's just going through the whole fucking drill. And I could tell there was one OG, and I tripped on him because he's not a civilian. He had 13 on his middle finger. He killed the whole 13, and he had jewels above his fucking above his on his headline, right? And I'm kind of looking. I'm like, is this dude a suit? I don't know, but he's not. There's a lot of dudes I met that had suit on them because they're from Southern Arizona. It has nothing to do with North or South. You know what I'm saying? It's suit. Basically, I've seen people 5-2 SUR. I've seen people with fucking different area codes SUR, and it just means that they're from Southern Arizona, which is Arizona. Okay, so, and I've seen the 13, so I'm like, not realizing that a lot of the Mexican Mafia members or those that put in work, they put 13 on them just like they do in California. But the 13 in California, the surveillance are paying tribute to the Mexican Mafia. So it's a little bit similar, but you have to earn it in AZ. You know what I'm saying? And he was an OG, right? So I'm just keeping him out. Okay, I can tell that this dude is basically, someone that's in the cut that's been around for a minute. And what I found out later was he was with Emily from the homeboy from Chile, who was actually cool with this cat. Right? And this cat, actually, like I said, old man Flaco, he had the same name as me. It was a fucking trip. So this one dude starts to go over this whole spill, right? You do this, you're catching a hot one. You do this, you do that. If you're not out here for blocks, you're going to get a hot one. And a hot one, a california, right, is basically where one or two dudes are going to take you up in the closet and they're going to put hands on you. If you're using drugs, you're going to get moved on. You owe money, you're going to get moved on. Now, if you use drugs for 30 days, you get caught, you're getting a hot one. All these different rules. But the only thing that I gathered from it was the person was basically being very aggressive and just always wanted to make the point that he's a hot one. I've been places where I ran the yard, I ran the collection yard, I ran the whole prison. And the thing is, I've always been firm and strict, but I've never been threatening. And everything that was coming out of this dude's mouth was basically threatening, like he wanted to be impressive with what he has to say. So as I was saying, right, it's just you can tell when someone's trying to impress someone, when someone's trying to strike fear. And just me personally, I've been around people, like I said, there's one to be a chief, be it or not, be a BB, be an M member, be an NF member, and whatnot. And you have the right to reprimand people when it's necessary. I've seen some C's tell you to get your head out your fucking ass and this and that. And I've told people certain things that, I was aggressive, but it was always warranted. But there's a difference when you start to see those that try to employ those tactics who are not of that status and they're doing it just to be impressive. And that's what I was getting from this individual right off top. And like I said, me personally, when I got to these yards, I know how to conduct myself. I know how to do fucking, surveillance. I know how to, survive and get information and intel and just basically do my R&I to a state. And I could tell this individual through my character analysis was he was trying to impress people through fear. But at the end of the day, that just never works. It's always better to show carnalismo, unity, and respect towards your gente and not fear. Fear is only something you have to do when something has to happen, when it's necessary to happen. But the last thing you want to do is try to push you away. And that's what I got. So from there, he introduced this old man, and he said, this old man's been around, as you guys have heard his name throughout the system, and this and that. And, he doesn't always come out here, so you got the privilege to have him out there. And, I peeped him out. He had his, of course, these dudes, you tell that they're making money on the yard. You know what I'm saying? They're all nicely dressed to do shit. You know what I'm saying? Even though this dude ended up, he's 54 years old, he's a little bit older than me, and he was tall like me too, and he had his leg on the table, his arms crossed, and he started to talk, man. And you could tell people were starting to show a lot of respect towards him and things that they, just listening to him. And he just started to tell people that these are the the rules. We have to have structure here. There has to be rules. This is GP, guys. He goes, I love my raza. He said, I love my people. He goes, I can't be nowhere else but being held up with my own people. If you want to suffer the racist, you want to do all that, there's those other yards for you. This is GP here. And everybody was quiet. And I'm like, okay. This kid, I kind of had a respect for how he carried himself. You could tell the difference between someone that was trying to impress someone and someone who had been there. And after that, because most people were on blocks, which blocks is basically a form of freeze, basically. Anybody that's been from AZ that runs Chicago, they'll tell you blocks, you're on blocks for the first 30 days, basically. If your paperwork clears, you have to do the block modalities. If you owe money, you're on blocks. If you fuck up somewhere, you're on blocks. So basically, everybody that's on blocks even though only Monday through Friday they do the workouts, all the youngsters under 35 have to do 113 burpees. Yeah, 113. Don't get the 13 twisted with the surveillance.com because it's just them giving their allegiance to the EZMA. So after that, we had they asked people to run laps. Next you know, I'm getting pulled by the OT. Come on, bro, we got to run laps. I'm like, fuck, man, I ain't run laps for a minute. I mean, my ass just got to prison. You know what I mean? I cut back on my burpees, but we ended up running a couple miles real quick. And when I came through, I took off my shirt. And then out of nowhere, one of them fucking looked at me. Now, the dude at first, Brian Flaco said, "What, you got the same name as me, Flaco?" He just fucking started. He goes, "How old are you?" Okay. I go, 48. He goes, "Oh, 54. Okay, so yeah, you're the older one." Right, so I take off my shirt, guys, and then one of the dudes from AC goes, I thought you were fucking from the Bay Area, man. I thought you were North Daniel. And I have Milpas on my stomach, guys. Right? And Milpas is a hood in Phoenix. I'll go up to Milpas. It's an old school Chicano hood that's been around for a long time. This OGMA member looks at me and he starts to shake his head and fucking laugh. And he pulls up his shirt. This was on this OGMA member's stomach, bro. Milpas. I started laughing my ass off, and then one of the dudes said, "There's another Milpas in California." He goes, "Yeah, there's North Daniel." So I kind of tripped that he had heard that there was, a hood out there called Milpas. Just like, yeah, that's North Daniel. Started to hear the dude talk, man, and when he was talking, and basically a couple times I could tell that, and this I got from a lot of people. There's a lot of dudes from the AZ that don't like the Sureños. And like the Heat mentioned, man, you looked over at a couple of them that are walking by and they have a different style. They're more, some of them are more troubled down, and I don't like those motherfuckers. And I was kind of took him back because this dude's saying he don't like these Cali cats, really. Like, he tolerates some of them he likes, right? But the funny thing about it was he had 1-3 on his finger, and he had suit on his fucking forehead. And so I was like, okay, I was kind of taken aback, but that's when I realized that when you see the suit and AZ and you see Pestes, doesn't mean they're Sureños. Sud just can't. You'll never see one that has Sureño on. You'll see Sud, Adrisa on a lot of these cats, and you'll see a lot of 13s because of 13s. They basically have to earn it. You can't. Not anybody can put a dollar Blesse or Blesse on. They have to go put in work. Whereas in California, it's a little bit different. All the hoods that are southern hoods, they also put Blesse because they're all aligned, mandatory to be with under the unit. But in AZ, it's a little different. If someone has a Blesse, it means they put in work for the Mexican Mafia. It doesn't mean that they're a member. You know what I'm saying? But it means that they put in work, right? They did something to earn it. And you see a lot of Nahua Blesses. If people don't know what a Nahua Bless is, it's 2 bars with 3 dots. You know, I've seen some people put Nahua Blesses, which is 2 bars with 4 dots. So, it was an interesting experience because, like I said, some of these dudes I met from AZ, it didn't really register or make me feel like, even though they were Mexican Mafia members, there is a difference between the Mexican Mafia and AZ and in California. A big difference. Hearing him talk, it kind of reminded me about being on the 6-yard back in the day, and certain seasons would go out there and they would talk to you. The dude truly came out there and said he cared about his people and this and that, and just his whole stilo was that different to where, and I've been around Mexican Mafia members from California, they have a little, I hate to say it, but this is the truth, they have a little bit more of a tyrant dictatorship mentality. I've been places to where fucking, people are kissing their ass and all that. I didn't get that. Even though, yeah, there's going to be dudes kissing, whether you're a non-NF or structure or MA, you're going to have dudes kissing their ass. But at the same time, there's those that know how to deal with it and there's those that don't. A lot of the MA members I met in California, they bribed upon it. They knew that they were special. It was like they were superior to everybody. That was actually did with the California. I haven't really got that, but over here, but at the same token, everyone's going to carry it different. I've been around C's that have acted like they were superior. I've even heard C's at times say, "Hey, I'm NF, the quality's out the door." You know what I mean? And with that said, man, this is my experience. And I thought it was an interesting one, man. Like I said, not every experience here would, and that. I've met a lot of good people, but I've also seen things that are wrong. And I think back home, if I was back home, it'd be the same type of statement I'd be making. That's it, I'm gone.